So Google just announced that Gemini will be free within their paid workplace accounts. If you're already paying for Workplace, and that's about $14 a month per user, you don't have to pay more for AI features. And this is huge news that our pricing researchers at Irrational Labs are tracking. So in this teardown, we're going to go back in time with a history lesson of video software to figure out if this is a good strategic move for Gemini. You'll learn about the historical pricing decisions for Zoom, Google Meet, and Skype, the power of free, and how the heck Zoom stayed in the game with all of those giants. So here we go. Okay, so in a world dominated by tech giants, Zoom's triumph kind of seems impossible. Like, how did a small startup beat Microsoft and Google at their own game? And I think that Zoom Stories actually provides this blueprint for any company looking to challenge an established player. And so to do this, we're going to go back to basics with how a tech company works. They basically have this powerful weapon, and the powerful weapon is called bundling. The playbook, the bundling playbook, and academics study this a lot, is powerful but simple. You pick any, in this case, productivity feature, you sell it for free within an existing suite of apps. Example, Microsoft gives every Office user a Teams account. Google gives every workplace user a Meet account. Both of these integrate video tools directly into their existing products, and then they become magic, the market leaders. Poof. So this strategy actually makes it possible for any independent startup or independent, in this case, video conferencing company to survive, because why would a company pay extra for video software when it comes free within their productivity suite? And yet somehow Zoom succeeded where others had failed. According to some reports, and we'll look at this, basically Zoom represents 50% of the video conferencing market. That seems a little high to me, but let's assume that it's off by some order of magnitude. Even a quarter of the video conferencing market is very impressive. And from 2017 to 2024, they reported an annual growth rate of about 88%, which is impressive. And so, by the way, Dropbox and Slack also did this. They escaped the grips of Microsoft bundling strategy, and they lived to tell the story. And so to figure out how Zoom did and how Dropbox and Slack did it, we're going to basically how they got these surprising David and Goliath outcomes. We're going to look at the history of pricing and bundling within this video conference software. So we're going to go back and I'll show you guys Skype. Basically, in early 2000s, by the way, this screen is 2017, but in early 2000s, Skype dominated video calling. One-to-one group video calls, they were free, and premium international things you still had to pay credit for. But the landscape really changed in 2017. This is when Microsoft bought Skype, and they made a pivotal decision. I'm sure there were people sitting in a room scheming on this, but rather than maintain Skype for Business as a standalone service, they basically would fold the business video conferencing features into their Office suite. So the message really for Skype businesses was clear. If you wanted that professional video conferencing software like controls and scheduling and automation and administration, you need to subscribe to the full Office suite. Google kind of followed a similar strategy. So in 2017, they launched Google Meet, which was a attempt to fight Zoom and at that point Slack. And they launched this as part of their G Suite. G Suite was the former workspace. So this is effectively requiring businesses subscribe, or really pushing them to subscribe to their entire productivity suite to access a professional video conferencing tool. Okay, with me here. So only in around mid 2020, did they really have a free Meet on-ramp for anyone. And this is because COVID really pushed them. So basically, this created an unexpected opportunity, both for Zoom. Both tech giants basically shifted from offering kind of free business communication tools to bundling them exclusively with the paid enterprise suites. This also, by the way, happened if you remember WebEx. So WebEx was an enterprise software, and it was bundled with the Cisco suite of products. So the same thing, if you wanted business professional video software, you really had to sign up for the full suite. And I think this left a really large opening for Zoom. Basically, Zoom had been operating since 2011. It had traction, but the market was crowded. Now with Microsoft and Google pointing all their marketing efforts at their comprehensive productivity suites, there basically was a gap in the market for an easy, free-to-use tool that businesses would adopt. So this gap in the market, I think there's two things to learn from it. And the first one is going to be free, and the second one is going to be less is more. So we're going to start with free. And you guys may know this, but the allure of free is basically very powerful. The favorite kind of example is when Amazon introduced free shipping in European markets. Orders skyrocketed everywhere except France, where a minimal 20 cents, 1 franc shipping fee prevented basically the bump that all the other European countries got. And so this free idea where people get something for free, they really like it, it's very powerful. I also found this is Denny's offering free breakfast, and the lines are like $5.99, but the lines are like multiple hours long. And so people really like free, and they're willing to do weird things for it. We're overvaluing these free items compared to just cheap alternatives. And I think this has been the key to some success for many of these tech giants. Spotify, LinkedIn, Slack all really built their empires on really robust free tiers. This is just a problem for large corporations, right? Because they're struggling to embrace a strategy because of quarterly revenue. Cannibalization is very popular at a large company. If you have a free product, it's going to cannibalize your revenue. And so internal politics come into play. You can imagine, I'm imagining the like Office 365 marketing manager watching Teams being given away for free and being like, my quarterly KPI, right? They're undermining your paid customer base. And so Zoom's triumph was really understanding this and leveraging this dynamic where their competitors were constrained by these corporate structures and revenue concerns. They recognize that in a digital age, the path to the market typically starts with free. And this is, by the way, what Zoom looked like around 2017. They really had a really robust free tier here. So the second strategy is less is more. And common wisdom suggests that bundling, which is the opposite, by the way, of less, increases perceived value. And sometimes that's true because you're getting more for your money. And companies have long used this assumption. We package products together with the belief that customers believe they're getting a better deal. And by the way, good deal, that feeling of getting a good deal is key to a good pricing strategy. And it seems logical because why wouldn't people like getting Microsoft Teams included in their Office subscription? And many do. But there are two benefits to narrowing a product's focus in this less is more idea. And one, super obvious. With a narrow feature set, a company can focus, and maybe the product's going to be simpler, and maybe the product's going to be a tad bit better. Here are some ratings for Zoom and Microsoft, and while Zoom edges out a little bit, if you read the reviews, the reason why people like Zoom is it has a better usability. If you talk to people who reflect on Zoom when like early 2000s, it just felt like a more quality video experience for some reason. And that could be because they're just a simpler product to use. The second is a little bit less obvious. Why is less is more is a good strategy is a consumer's mental model. And so to explain this one, another history lesson here. So when Siri came out in 2011, Apple positioned it basically like the do everything thing. It was like the virtual assistant. It could handle reminders. It could do the weather. It could help you cook. It could do trivia questions. You name it. It could do it. In contrast, Alexa came out 2014. So after Siri, and they emphasized a much more narrow use case. I remember making fun of people who bought Alexas because it was like, can't you turn on the lights by yourself? Can't you turn on the music by yourself? They really focused on a narrow use case of lights and music. And so this may have helped people develop a stronger mental model for what Alexa was, because even though the technical capabilities of both platforms were the same, and I looked up some research to say that actually put to the test, they are, the public opinion of Siri was just really low and it remains low. And it possibly is because it's trying to do too much and customers expected too much of it in return. Back to this Teams and Google Meet things, it could be that this less is more strategy is that Zoom just was able to focus. They focused on great video calls available to everyone for free. And Teams and Meet were buried in the larger Office suite. Lots of things going on there. And Zoom was more able to become the video tool and make it easier to stand out in the consumer's mind. Okay, so we have those kind of two reasons why Zoom may have maybe even existing today, which is free and less is more. But I'll go back to Gemini, which is where we started, if you remember way back when. The question is, do they have a strong strategy? Maybe. It's also possible that Gemini just left the door wide open for niche players to come in with AI features attached to their app. Shortwave is actually an example of this. So basically, it's like Shortwave is a email tool. They're using AI in their email tool. It's for businesses. This could very easily become a player, a larger player in the email market. And then in order to get email with AI, you'd have to buy the full workplace suite. That's just a lot, but right now, you could get email with AI just by doing Shortwave. They also have this free strategy. And so there's some level of these productivity apps, if they're bundling it with AI, could be a competitor to this larger suite because it's simpler and they have a good free strategy. Okay, so my main point here is that I don't think that Zoom's success was just luck. I do think it's the same playbook that Dropbox and Slack did. And Dropbox and Slack had a narrow mental model for the thing that they did, files and, Messenger and Workplace. And they had really strong free strategies. And so those two psychological forces are sometimes ones that large companies can miss. First, they just don't recognize that free has this magical effect on human behavior. They think that it'll cannibalize all the other things in their portfolio. And second, sometimes they don't understand that less can be more. And it's a really hard thing to understand, because if you ask consumers questions about if they want something, of course they're going to say more, please. So this combination, I think, of being free and being focused created this perfect strategy against tech giants. Okay. We're done. But if you're interested in rethinking your pricing strategy, doing a willingness to pay study, or figuring out how to get customers or business to value your product, read, convert, please give me an email. And by the way, I do think you are interested in this because you made it to the end of this video. So my email is kristen@irrationallabs.com.